Jake Murphy stood at the window of the space station and watched the biggest ships he had ever seen. The alien vessels were so large that Earth's moon could fit inside one of them. He rubbed his tired eyes and checked his watch. 3 days ago, these ships had appeared above Earth. 3 days ago, everything changed. "Jake, come quick!" Lisa Grant called from across the room. Her voice was excited but also worried. Lisa was small, even for a human. She had bright green eyes and always smiled, but today her smile looked forced. Jake walked over to where Lisa was standing. She pointed at a huge screen that showed news from across the galaxy. The news reporter was not human. It looked like a walking crystal tower, 12 feet tall and glowing with soft blue light. "Today marks a wonderful day for the Galactic Federation," the crystal being said. Its voice sounded like wind chimes. "We have discovered a new adorable species on the planet called Earth. These tiny creatures call themselves humans." The screen showed pictures of humans doing normal things, people eating lunch, children playing in parks, workers building houses. But the way the alien reporter talked about them made it sound like they were watching cute animals at a zoo. "Look at their small hands," the reporter continued, "and their soft faces that change color when they feel emotions. The Federation Science Council has already classified them as Class C adorable species. This means they will receive our protection and care." Jake felt his face get hot with anger. "Protection and care? We're not pets." Lisa put her small hand on his arm. "Maybe they mean well, Jake. They did come in peace." "Did they ask if we wanted their protection?" Jake asked. Before Lisa could answer, the door to their room slid open. A being that looked like living crystal walked in. It had to bend down to fit through the doorway. This was Ambassador Zix Thera, the alien who had been assigned to work with Earth's government. "Greetings, small humans," Zix Thera said. Its voice was gentle, like someone talking to children. "I hope you are resting well in your specially sized quarters." Jake noticed that everything in their room was too big. The chairs were too tall, the tables too high, the beds too wide. The aliens had tried to make things smaller for humans, but they still got it wrong. "Ambassador," Jake said, "we need to talk about this Class C classification." Zix Thera made a sound like tinkling bells. Jake realized this was alien laughter. "Oh, little Jake, you are so serious for such a tiny being. Do not worry about big galactic matters. Your species will be very happy in the cute sector." "The cute sector?" Lisa asked. "Yes. You will live with other adorable species. The Floofians look like your rabbits, but they can talk. The Purians are like your cats, but they walk on 2 legs. You will all get along wonderfully." Jake felt his anger growing. "We want to be full members of the Federation. We want to make our own choices." Zix Thera bent down until its crystal face was level with Jake's head. "Sweet little human, you do not understand how dangerous the galaxy can be. Big, strong species like mine have fought wars for thousands of years. We have enemies with weapons that could destroy your entire world in seconds. You need protection. What if we can protect ourselves?" Jake asked. This time Zix Thera's laughter sounded like a whole orchestra of wind chimes. "Oh my, you are so brave. But look at you. You are barely 5.5 feet tall. Your bones are so thin. Your skin is so soft. If one of the warrior species like the Katani even touched you, you would break." Captain Tony Blake chose that moment to walk into the room. Tony was a big man, even by human standards. He was 6 feet 4 inches tall and had spent 20 years in Earth's military. His arms were thick with muscle and his hands were rough from years of hard work. "Ambassador," Tony said in his deep voice, "I need to discuss our defense agreements." Zix Thera looked up at Tony and made what Jake thought might be a gasp of surprise. "Oh my, you are a large human. How wonderful. You must be their leader." Tony looked confused. "I'm a captain, but so big and strong for your species," Zix Thera interrupted. It reached out one crystal finger and poked Tony's arm. Tony didn't move, but Jake saw his eye twitch. "Still so soft, though, and your bones are still so breakable. But do not worry, strong little human. The Federation will keep you safe. Jake watched Tony's face turn red. Here was a man who had fought in 3 wars, who could break boards with his bare hands, who had led soldiers into battle. And this alien was treating him like a child. Ambassador, Lisa said quickly, could you tell us more about the Federation? We want to understand our place in it. Zixthara turned to Lisa with obvious delight. Oh, you are the most adorable one yet. So small and curious. Yes, little Lisa, I will tell you everything. The crystal being moved to the center of the room, suddenly lights appeared in the air around them. The lights formed into shapes that looked like different alien species. The Federation has existed for 50,000 of your years, Zixthara began. We have 1,200 member species. The strongest species, like my people the Veltar, make the important decisions. The warrior species, like the Ketani, fight our battles. The thinking species, like the Nexus, solve our problems. Where do humans fit? Jake asked. In the special protection zone. With all the other cute species. You will be safe and happy. You can make art and tell stories and play games. The big species will handle all the dangerous work. Jake felt like screaming. What if we want to handle dangerous work? Zixthara made that tinkling laugh again. Silly little Jake, you cannot even reach the controls of our smallest ships. Your tiny hands could not lift our lightest weapons. Your soft bodies could not wear our thinnest armor. But that is what makes you so precious. Tony stepped forward. His voice was very calm, which Jake knew meant he was very angry. Ambassador, with respect, I think you underestimate us. Oh no, strong little Tony. I estimate you perfectly. The Federation Science Council ran many tests. Human bones are 60% weaker than Ketani bones. Human muscles produce 70% less force than Veltar muscles. Human reflexes are 30% slower than Nexus reflexes. These are facts, not opinions. Lisa looked hurt. So we're just weak? Zixthara's crystal body glowed brighter with excitement. No, no, no. You are perfect exactly as you are. Weak is the wrong word. You are delicate, precious, worth protecting. The galaxy has enough strong species. What it needs is more adorable species. Jake wanted to argue more, but he saw Lisa's face. She looked sad and small. Tony looked like he wanted to punch something, but there was nothing to punch except crystal, beings who thought they were being kind. We should rest, Jake said finally. It's been a long day. Yes, Zixthara agreed. Small beings need lots of sleep. Dream sweet dreams, little humans. Tomorrow we will show you your new home in the cute sector. After the ambassador left, the 3 humans sat in silence for a long time. They really think we're just pets, Lisa said quietly. Adorable pets, Tony corrected, his voice bitter. Jake looked out the window at the enormous alien ships. Somewhere, out there was a whole galaxy full of beings who thought humans were too weak and small to matter. The thought made him angry, but it also made him determined. We'll show them, he said softly. Somehow, we'll show them what humans can really do. He just had no idea how. 3 months had passed since first contact, and Jake Murphy was getting tired of being treated like a cute animal. Every day brought new examples of how the galaxy saw humans. This morning, Jake sat in the Federation cafeteria with Lisa Grant, watching the news on the big screen. The reporter was showing Earth again, but not in the way humans would want. Today we visit the adorable human world, the crystal reporter said cheerfully. Watch as these tiny beings use their little tools to eat food. Notice how they wear coverings on their bodies. Scientists believe this is because their soft skin cannot handle temperature changes. On the screen, Jake watched human children playing in a park. The alien camera focused on them like they were performing tricks. The small humans also seemed to enjoy group activities, the reporter continued. They gather in large numbers and make sounds together. Experts think this is how they communicate complex emotions. They're talking about singing, Lisa said quietly. They think we're just making noise. Jake pushed his food around his plate. The plate was still too big even after 3 months of complaints. Everything on the station was sized for beings 8 to 12 feet tall. Humans had to use special steps to reach tables and chairs that were made smaller but still too large. "Jake, Lisa," a cheerful voice called out. They turned to see Ben Carter walking toward them. Ben was an engineer who had volunteered to come to the station. Behind him was Amy Foster, a young pilot who had been trying to learn alien flying systems. Ben sat down heavily on his too big chair. "You two look as frustrated as I feel." "Bad day in engineering?" Jake asked. "Every day is bad in engineering," Ben replied. "They gave me tools designed for 12-foot insects. I can barely lift their screwdrivers, and when I try to explain that humans need different-sized equipment, they just think it's cute that I'm trying so hard." Amy nodded. "Same thing in pilot training. The instructors keep patting me on the head and saying I'm doing my best. But I can't even reach half the controls in their ships." "At least you get to try," Lisa said. "They won't let me near any of the science labs. They say the equipment is too dangerous for delicate humans." Their conversation was interrupted by loud, heavy footsteps. The humans turned to see a group of Ketani warriors entering the cafeteria. The Ketani looked like giant insects that walked on two legs. They had hard black shells covering their bodies and 4 arms each. Their leader was Commander Rex Mora, who Jake had met during several diplomatic meetings. Rex Mora spotted the humans and walked over to their table. He was 10 feet tall and had to look down at them like they were sitting on the floor. "Well, well," Rex Mora said in a voice like grinding metal. "If it is not the tiny soft skins." Jake stood up even though it meant he barely came up to Rex Mora's chest. "Commander, I was just telling my warriors about Earth's defense capabilities," Rex Mora continued. "Or should I say, lack of defense capabilities. We have militaries," Tony Blake said, appearing beside their table. Jake was glad to see the captain, even though Tony looked as frustrated as everyone else. Rex Mora made a sound like rocks falling. Jake realized this was Ketani laughter. "Oh yes, your militaries. We studied them. Your strongest weapons could not scratch Ketani armor. Your fastest vehicles move like sleeping slugs compared to our slowest scouts. Our weapons aren't designed to fight aliens," Amy said, her voice getting angry. "No, little flying thing," Rex Mora agreed. "Your weapons are designed to fight other tiny soft skins, which proves my point perfectly." Rex Mora reached over to their table and picked up a metal napkin holder. It was made of thick steel and weighed about 10 pounds. He squeezed it in one hand and the humans watched the metal crumple like paper. "This is what Ketani strength looks like," Rex Mora said, dropping the twisted metal on their table. "Now, show me human strength." Jake felt his face get hot. He picked up the crumpled metal and tried to straighten it out. His hands couldn't even make a dent in it. Ben tried next, then Tony. None of them could change the shape at all. "Fascinating," Rex Mora said, but his tone was mocking. "Your strongest male cannot undo what I did with no effort, and yet the Federation wants to treat you as equals." "We never asked to be treated as equals," Jake said through clenched teeth. "We asked to be treated as intelligent beings capable of making our own decisions." "Intelligence without strength is useless," Rex Mora replied. "In the real galaxy, soft skins like you would be dead in days. That is why you need warriors like me to protect you." Before Jake could respond, Rex Mora and his warriors walked away, their heavy footsteps shaking the floor. "I hate him," Amy said quietly. "He's not wrong, though," Ben said, looking at the twisted metal. "We really can't match their physical strength. There's more to survival than pure strength," Lisa said, but she didn't sound convinced. Later that day, Jake found himself in Ambassador Zixathera's office. The crystal being was at its desk, which was 15 feet high. Jake had to use a special platform that lifted him up so they could talk face to face. "Little Jake looks upset," Zixathera observed. "Did something happen in the Cute Sector orientation?" "We didn't go to Cute Sector orientation," Jake said. "We've been trying to participate in normal Federation activities." "Oh my," Zixathera said, its crystal body flickering with worry. "That explains why you look so tired. Normal Federation activities are much too hard for adorable species. Ambassador, I need to ask you something directly. Is there any way for humans to become full Federation members?" Zixthera was quiet for a long moment. Its crystal body dimmed as it thought. Jake, I will be honest with you because I have grown fond of your species. The Federation Council voted on this question last week. Jake felt his heart speed up. And? The vote was unanimous. Humans cannot become full members. Why? The requirements are very clear. Full member species must be able to defend themselves and contribute to Federation defense. They must be able to operate standard Federation equipment. They must be able to survive in hostile galactic environments. And humans can't do any of that? Sweet little Jake, you cannot even lift Federation equipment, much less use it. Your bodies are too fragile for most Federation worlds. And as Commander, Rex and Mora demonstrated, you cannot defend yourselves against any serious threat. Jake felt something break inside his chest. So we're stuck, forever. Not stuck, Zixthera said quickly. Protected, cherished. The galaxy loves humans exactly as you are. Why would you want to be different? Because we want to choose our own future, Jake said quietly. But little Jake, some species are meant to be protected, and some are meant to do the protecting. Humans are clearly meant to be protected. There is no shame in that. Jake left the ambassador's office feeling worse than he had since arriving at the station. He found the other humans in their common room, watching more galactic news. On the screen, alien children were visiting Earth on what the news called cuteness tours. The alien kids were pointing at humans and making excited noises. Their parents were taking pictures. Look at this, Lisa said, pointing at the screen. They're treating Earth like a zoo. It gets worse, Ben said. He changed the channel to a Federation shopping network. Look what they're selling. Jake stared at the screen, in horror. Aliens were selling tiny human dolls that moved and made sounds. The dolls were labeled Authentic Earth Adorables and came with tiny furniture and clothes. They're making toys of us, Amy said, her voice barely a whisper. The best part, Tony said bitterly, is that the toys are exactly the same size as real humans. They don't even have to shrink us down. Jake sat down heavily on his oversized chair. Around him, his friends looked defeated. For 3 months, they had tried to prove that humans belonged in the galaxy as equals. Instead, they had only convinced the aliens that humans were even more adorable than originally thought. Outside their window, Jake could see Earth in the distance. Down there, 6 billion humans were going about their lives, not knowing that the galaxy had already decided their future for them. There has to be something we can do, Jake said finally. Like what? Ben asked. We can't beat them in strength. We can't match their technology. We can't even reach their door handles without help. Maybe that's the problem, Lisa said slowly. Everyone turned to look at her. Maybe we're trying to beat them at their own game instead of playing our own game. What do you mean? Jake asked. Lisa was quiet for a moment, thinking. I don't know yet. But there has to be something humans can do that 10-foot warriors and crystal beings and giant insects can't. Jake looked around at his friends. They all looked tired and frustrated, but he could see a tiny spark of hope in their eyes. Then we better figure out what that is, he said, before the galaxy turns us into permanent pets. The alarm started screaming at exactly 0347 station time. Jake Murphy woke up from a deep sleep and rolled out of his oversized bed. Red lights flashed in his room, and the station's computer voice was speaking in 3 different alien languages. Jake grabbed his communication device and ran to the common room. Lisa Grant was already there, looking scared. Ben Carter and Amy Foster arrived a few seconds later, both still in their sleeping clothes. What's happening? Amy asked. Before anyone could answer, the light stopped flashing and Ambassador Zixthera's voice came through the speakers. Attention all station residents. We have received a distress signal from the mining colony of Zerion 7. The colony is under attack by hostile forces. This is not a drill. All civilian species should remain in their quarters until further notice. Civilian species, Ben said bitterly. That means us. Jake was already getting dressed. I'm going to the command center. Jake, they said to stay. In our quarters. Lisa warned. They say a lot of things, Jake replied. Doesn't mean I have to listen. The command center was chaos when Jake arrived. Dozens of different alien species were running around, talking in their own languages. Giant screens showed star maps and ship movements. Jake had to dodge several aliens who didn't see him down at their feet level. Jake found Ambassador Zixathera standing near the main display. The crystal being was talking rapidly to a group of Ketani warriors, including Commander Rex Mora. Devourers have adapted again, Zixathera was saying. Our standard battle tactics are not working. Then we need more warriors, Rex Mora growled. Send 3 battle groups instead of 1. We already sent 5 battle groups, a new voice said. Jake turned to see General Vex Karan, the Federation's top military commander. Vex Karan had 4 arms and looked like a giant metal spider. The Devourers destroyed them all. Jake moved closer, trying to hear better. The Devourers were machine beings that ate planets for resources. They had been the Federation's enemy for thousands of years. How many survivors? Zixathera asked. From 5 battle groups? General Vex Karan's voice was grim. 12 ships out of 300. Commander Rex Mora slammed one of his 4 fists on the table. Impossible. Ketani warriors are the strongest in the galaxy. Strength does not matter when the enemy adapts faster than we can fight, General Vex Karan replied. The Devourers have new weapons, new defenses. They learn from every battle and change their tactics. Jake listened as the alien commanders argued about what to do next. It sounded like the Federation was losing badly. What about the colony? Zixathera asked. How many beings are trapped there? 40,000 miners from 12 different species, General Vex Karan said. If we cannot break through the Devourer defenses in the next day, they will all be consumed. We need fresh tactics, Rex Mora said. Something the Devourers have not seen before. General Vex Karan made a sound like grinding gears. What tactics? We have tried everything. Direct assault, siege warfare, stealth attacks, orbital bombardment. The Devourers adapt to all of it. Jake stepped forward. Excuse me. The aliens looked down at him in surprise. Jake realized they had forgotten he was there. Little Jake, Zixathera said gently. You should not be here. This is very dangerous talk for adorable species. I heard you say you need new tactics, Jake said. What if humans could help? Commander Rex Mora made his grinding laugh. Help? How soft-skin? Are you going to cute the Devourers to death? Maybe humans see things differently than you do, Jake said, keeping his voice calm. The only thing humans see is how far up they have to look to talk to real warriors, Rex Mora replied. General Vex Karan held up one of its 4 hands for silence. Wait. Let the small being speak. We are desperate enough to listen to any ideas. Jake felt nervous with all the huge aliens staring down at him. Could I see the battle reports? Maybe humans would notice something you missed. Absolutely not, Rex Mora said immediately. Battle reports are classified military information. Not for civilian species. Commander Rex Mora is correct, Zixathera agreed. Such information would be too frightening for delicate human minds. But General Vex Karan was looking at Jake with what might have been curiosity. You really think your tiny brain could understand military tactics that have confused our best generals? I don't know, Jake said honestly. But what do you have to lose? You said you're desperate. General Vex Karan was quiet for a long moment. Then it gestured to one of its assistants. Show the small being the basic tactical overview. Nothing. Classified. The assistant brought up a hologram that showed the Zerion 7 system. Jake could see the mining colony on the planet's surface and the Devourer ships surrounding it. The Devourers have built their main base here, General Vex Karan said, pointing to a spot on the planet. Our forces cannot get close enough to attack it. Jake studied the hologram. What kind of terrain is that? Rocky canyons and cave systems, the assistant replied. Very difficult terrain for large-scale military operations. How difficult? General Vex Karan gestured to the hologram, and the view zoomed in. Jake could see narrow passages between tall rocks and cave openings that looked very small. Our largest ships cannot fit into the canyons, General Vexcaran explained. Our troops have to approach on foot through narrow passages. The Devourers ambush them from the cave entrances. Jake stared at the hologram. Something was bothering him about what he was seeing, but he couldn't figure out what. How narrow are these passages, he asked. Too narrow for proper military formations, Rex Mora said with disgust. Barely wide enough for 2 Katani warriors to walk side by side. And the cave entrances? Even worse, General Vexcaran said. Most of our troops have to crawl to get inside. It makes them easy targets. Suddenly, Jake understood what was bothering him. How big are Federation soldiers? Compared to humans? You know how big we are, little Jake, Zixthara said patiently. Ketani warriors are 10 feet tall. Veltar soldiers are 12 feet tall. Even our smallest troops are 8 feet tall. Jake felt excited. What if the problem isn't that the terrain is difficult? What if the problem is that your soldiers are too big for the terrain? The alien stared at him in silence. Think about it, Jake continued, talking faster as the idea grew in his mind. You're trying to fight in spaces that were never designed for beings your size, but humans are 5 to 6 feet tall. Those narrow passages would be wide open spaces. For us, those tiny cave entrances would be normal doorways. Ridiculous, Rex Mora said immediately. Even if you could fit, you are too weak to fight Devourers. But what if we didn't have to fight them the same way you do? Jake asked. What if we could get into places they don't expect anyone to be able to reach? General Vexcaran was studying the hologram with new interest. It is an interesting theory, but even if humans could navigate the terrain better, you would still be facing Devourer combat units. They would destroy you instantly. Maybe, Jake said. Or maybe they're not expecting humans at all. You said they adapt to your tactics, right? But they've never seen human tactics. Because humans do not have tactics, Rex Mora snapped. You have no military experience fighting advanced enemies. We have military experience fighting enemies that are bigger and stronger than us, Jake replied. That's most of human military history. Ambassador Zixithera moved closer to Jake. Little Jake, you are being very brave, but this is too dangerous. If humans went to Zerion 7, you would all be killed. And if we don't try, 40,000 miners will be killed anyway, Jake said. General Vexcaran was quiet for a long time, staring at the hologram. Finally it spoke. Even if I wanted to allow human involvement, which I do not, the Council would never approve it. Sending adorable species into combat would violate every Federation protection protocol. What if we weren't combat troops? Jake asked. What if we were just observers, scouts? We could go in, look around, report back what we see. Absolutely not, Rex Mora said. Unless, General Vexcaran said slowly. Everyone turned to look at the four-armed general. Unless what? Zixthara asked. Unless they volunteered, General Vexcaran said, and unless they had proper supervision to keep them safe. Jake felt his heart speed up. You mean it? I mean that desperate times call for desperate measures, General Vexcaran replied. If humans want to volunteer for a reconnaissance mission, with proper alien supervision, then perhaps the Council might consider it. I volunteer, Jake said immediately. Jake, no, Zixthara said, sounding worried. I volunteer too, a voice said from behind them. Everyone turned to see Lisa Grant walking into the command center. Behind her were Ben Carter and Amy Foster, Weo. Heard the alarms, Lisa explained. We came to see if we could help. Adorable little beings, Rex Mora said with disgust. You do not understand what you are volunteering for. We understand that people need help, Amy said firmly, and we understand that maybe humans can go places you can't. General Vexcaran looked at the four humans for a long moment. Very well. I will contact the Council, but if they approve this mission, you will have alien supervision at all times, and if I give the order to retreat, you will obey immediately. Understood, Jake said. As the aliens began making preparations for the Council meeting, Jake looked at his friends. They all looked scared, but determined. Are we really doing this? Ben asked quietly. We're really doing this. The ship ride to Zarian 7 took 6 hours. Jake Murphy spent most of that time trying not to throw up. The alien ship was designed for beings much larger than humans, so everything shook and bounced more than it should. Lisa Grant sat next to him, looking pale but excited. "I can't believe they actually let us come. I can't believe we actually volunteered," Ben Carter replied from across the small human section of the ship. Amy Foster was up front, talking to their alien supervisor. Her name was Krista, and she was a young Veltar who had been assigned to keep the humans safe. Krista was 8 feet tall and glowed with a soft pink light instead of the blue light of older Veltar like Ambassador Zixathara. "The human creatures are so brave," Krista was saying to the ship's pilot. "They really want to help even though they know they are too small and weak to fight." Jake heard this and felt his jaw tighten. Even the aliens who were trying to help them still thought humans were helpless. "Approaching Zarian 7, the pilot announced. Jake looked out the ship's window and saw a brown, rocky planet below them. It looked like a desert world covered with mountains and deep canyons. Somewhere down there, 40,000 miners were trapped and waiting for rescue. "Landing in 5 minutes, the pilot said. "Remember, this is just a reconnaissance mission. Look around, take pictures, come back, no fighting." The ship landed with a bump that threw all the humans out of their seats. Krista helped them up, her crystal hands gentle but treating them like fragile children. "Are you hurt, little ones?" she asked worriedly. "We're fine," Jake said, trying not to sound annoyed. They left the ship and stepped onto the surface of Zarian 7. The air was thin and cold, but their environment suits kept them comfortable. Around them, Jake could see the rocky landscape that had caused so much trouble for the Federation forces. "Wow," Lisa said softly. Jake understood why she was impressed. The landscape was like nothing on Earth. Tall rock formations rose hundreds of feet into the air with narrow passages winding between them. Cave openings dotted the rock walls at different levels. "No wonder the big aliens can't fight here," Amy said. "They can barely fit between those rocks." Krista was scanning the area with her equipment. "I am detecting devourer activity 2 kilometers north. The main base is in that direction." "Let's go take a look," Jake said. They started walking toward Yao, the devourer base. Jake quickly realized that the terrain was exactly what they had hoped. The passages between the rocks were narrow for 10-foot aliens, but perfectly comfortable for humans. They could walk side by side easily. "This is like a normal hiking trail," Ben said, looking around. "I don't know what the aliens were complaining about." "Be careful, small ones," Krista warned. "Even though this seems easy for you, it is still very dangerous." They walked for about an hour before Krista's scanner started beeping faster. "Devourer patrols ahead," she whispered. "We should turn back now." "Let us just look," Jake said. "We promise we won't do anything dangerous." Krista looked worried, but she nodded. "Very quick look only." They crept forward until they could see around a bend in the rock passage. Jake's breath caught in his throat. About 50 yards ahead, he could see devourer machines moving around a large cave entrance. The devourers looked like metal spiders, but each one was the size of a small car. "That must be the entrance to their main base," Lisa whispered. Jake studied the scene carefully. The devourers were guarding the cave entrance, but they were all facing outward, watching for attacks from the passages. None of them were looking up. "Look at the rock walls," he said quietly to the others. Amy followed his gaze and gasped. "There are ledges and handholds all over those walls." Jake nodded. The rock formations were full of natural climbing routes. For humans who were small and light, the walls would be easy to climb. But for 10-foot aliens, the handholds would be too small, and the ledges wouldn't support their weight. "We could get above them," Ben said, understanding immediately. "No," Krista said a little too loudly. One of the devourer machines turned in their direction. "Get down," Jake hissed. They all pressed themselves against the rock wall as the devourer machine scanned their area. After a few tense seconds, it turned back to watching the main passages. "We need to go back," Krista whispered. "This is too dangerous." "Just give us 5 more minutes," Jake said. "We're learning things that could help the Federation." Reluctantly, Krista agreed. They spent the next few minutes studying the Devourer defenses. Jake realized that everything was designed to stop large, ground-based attacks. The Devourers had never considered that enemies might come from above or through spaces too small for normal Federation troops. "I've seen enough," Jake said finally. They started walking back toward their ship, but as they moved through one of the narrow passages, Krista's scanner started screaming. "Devourer patrol," she said in panic. "They found our ship." They ran to a high point where they could see their landing site. Jake's heart sank. 3 Devourer machines were circling their ship. As they watched, the machines opened fire with energy weapons. Their ship exploded in a ball of flame. "Oh no," Amy said softly. "How are we going to get home?" Krista was frantically trying to contact the Federation fleet on her communicator. "Federation Command, this is Krista. Our ship has been destroyed. We need immediate rescue." The answer came back full of static. "Krista, this is General Vexcaran. We cannot send rescue ships. Devourer air defenses are too strong. You will have to find another way out." "Another way out?" Krista's pink glow was flickering with fear. "General, I have 4 adorable beings with me. They cannot survive here." "Then find shelter and wait," General Vexcaran replied. "We will try to break through their defenses, but it may take days." The communication ended, leaving them in silence. "Days?" Ben said. "Our environment suits only have air for 12 hours. Krista was starting to panic. Her crystal body was flashing between pink and red. "I do not know what to do. I was supposed to keep you safe." Jake looked around at his friends. They were all scared, but he could see them thinking the same thing. He was thinking, "There might be another way," he said slowly. "What way?" Krista asked hopefully. "The Devourer base." "Jake, no," Lisa said immediately. "Think about it," Jake continued. "They'll have communication equipment, maybe even ships. If we could get inside—" "Absolutely not," Krista said, her glow turning bright red. "You cannot fight Devourers. They would destroy you." "We wouldn't fight them," Jake said. "We'd sneak past them." Amy was starting to understand. "Using the climbing routes we saw, and the passages they can't fit through," Ben added. "Are you all insane?" Krista asked. "Even if you could get inside, which you cannot, you would never get back out." Jake was about to answer when they heard a loud rumbling sound. They looked up to see a Federation battle tank moving through one of the wider passages below them. The tank was huge, designed for 10-foot Katani warriors. But as they watched, Devourer machines attacked it from 3 directions. The tank fought back, but it was too big to maneuver in the narrow space. Within minutes, the Devourers had disabled it. Jake could see the tank crew trying to escape, but Devourer machines were surrounding them. "We have to help them," Lisa said. "How?" Krista asked desperately. "You are too small, too weak." But Jake was staring at the disabled tank. An idea was forming in his mind. A crazy, impossible idea. "Maybe we are too small," he said slowly. "Or maybe they are too big." He started climbing down toward the disabled tank. "Jake, what are you doing?" Amy called after him. "Something probably stupid," Jake called back. The others followed him down to where the tank sat smoking in the narrow passage. The Katani crew had managed to get away, but the tank was clearly damaged. It was a massive machine, probably weighing 50 tons. Jake walked around to the front of the tank and put his hands on it. The metal was still warm from battle. "Jake," Lisa said carefully. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking that this tank is blocking the passage," Jake said. "And I'm thinking that if we could move it, we might be able to use it." Ben stared at him. "Move it? Jake, that thing weighs more than a building." "I know," Jake said. He took a deep breath, bent his knees, and grabbed the front edge of the tank. "Jake, don't," Lisa said. "You'll hurt yourself." But Jake was already lifting. To everyone's amazement, including his own, the front of the 50-ton tank rose off the ground. Krista made a sound like breaking glass. "That is impossible." Jake was breathing hard, but he was holding 25 tons of armored vehicle in the air. "Maybe," Maybe the gravity on this planet is lighter than Earth's. I checked, Amy said in a whisper. The gravity here is exactly the same as Earth's. Jake carefully set the tank down and stepped back. Everyone was staring at him. How did you do that? Ben asked. I don't know, Jake said honestly, but I think maybe the aliens have been wrong about human strength. Lisa stepped forward and put her hands on the tank. Like Jake, she bent her knees and lifted. The rear of the tank came off the ground just as easily. This is impossible, Krista said again. No, Jake said, a smile starting to spread across his face. This is human. The Federation Command Center was completely silent as they watched the live video feed from Zerion 7. General Vexcaron stood frozen, all four of its arms hanging motionless. Commander Rex Mora's mouth was open in shock. Ambassador Zix Thara's crystal body had turned completely white. On the screen, they watched tiny Lisa Grant casually lift the back end of a 50-ton battle tank and reposition it like it was a piece of furniture. How is this possible? General Vexcaron whispered. It is not possible, Rex Mora said, but his voice had lost all its usual confidence. The science is clear. Humans are weak. The humans do not seem to know that, Ambassador Zixathera said softly. On Zerion 7, Jake Murphy was trying to understand what had just happened. He looked at his hands, then at the tank, then at his friends. I think, he said slowly, the Federation has been testing human strength the wrong way. What do you mean? Amy Foster asked. They tested us against their equipment, right? But their equipment is designed for 10-foot aliens. Maybe when humans try to use tools that are too big for them, they can't show their real strength. Ben Carter was nodding. Like trying to lift weights with handles too big for your hands, you can't get a good grip? Lisa was still staring at the tank. So we're not actually weak? I think, Jake said, we might be a lot stronger than anyone realized. Krista, the young Veltar, was flashing rapid colors from pink to purple to white. But the science tests, the measurements, were done with alien equipment, Jake finished. Equipment that doesn't fit human hands or human bodies. Amy walked over to the tank and opened the driver's hatch. This thing still has power, she said, looking at the control panels inside. The weapons are damaged, but the engine works. You cannot drive that, Krista said in panic. It is designed for Katani warriors. Amy climbed into the driver's seat. Actually, it fits me pretty well. The controls are big, but I can reach everything. She started pressing buttons and the tank rumbled to life. Want to see something interesting about human reflexes? Before anyone could stop her, Amy drove the tank forward into the narrow passage. But instead of moving slowly and carefully like the Katani crew had done, she spun the tank around tight corners and squeezed through spaces that looked too small. Her movements were fast and smooth, like she was driving a sports car instead of a 50-ton war machine. Impossible, Krista whispered. Back in the Federation Command Center, General Vexcaron was frantically calling up human test data on the main screens. Here, it said, pointing with one of its arms. Human reflexes tested at 30% slower than Nexus reflexes. How was the test done? Ambassador Zixthera asked. General Vexcaron read through the files. Humans were asked to operate Nexus interface panels, which are designed for beings with 12-foot arm spans, Rex Mora said, understanding dawning in his voice. And human strength was tested using Katani training equipment. General Vexcaron continued reading. Equipment designed for 10-foot frames with 4 arms. On the screen, they watched Amy drive the tank up to the Devourer base. The Devourer machines attacked immediately, but Amy was moving the tank in ways they had never seen before. She spun and dodged and weaved through the rocky passages, making the huge machine dance like it weighed nothing. Look at her speed, Rex Mora said, his voice full of amazement. She is moving that tank faster than I could move my own body. Meanwhile, Jake, Lisa, and Ben were climbing the rock walls above the Devourer base. The handholds that would be too small for alien fingers were perfect for human hands. The ledges that would break under alien weight held humans easily. This is like a jungle gym, Ben said as he climbed. They reached a position directly above the main Devourer entrance. Below them, the machine guards were focused on Amy's tank, trying to hit her as she drove circles around them. "Now," Jake said. The three humans dropped down from the rocks and landed right in the middle of the Devourer formation. The machines turned to face these new threats. But they had been programmed to fight 10-foot warriors, not 5-foot humans who moved twice as fast as expected. Jake grabbed one of the Devourer machines and threw it into another one. The machines weighed about as much as large motorcycles, but Jake lifted them like they were bicycles. Lisa ran between the machine's legs, moving too fast and too low for their weapons to track her. She grabbed their support struts and twisted them, sending the machines crashing to the ground. Ben found a pile of Devourer equipment and started throwing pieces at the machines with perfect accuracy. His throws were so fast and precise that the machines couldn't dodge. In the Federation Command Center, every alien was pressed against the screens, watching in disbelief. "The small ones are winning," General Vexcaron said in wonder. "They are not small," Rex Mora said quietly. "We are large. There is a difference." Within minutes, Jake, Lisa, and Ben had destroyed all the guard machines. Amy drove the tank up to the cave entrance, and they all climbed inside. "Phase 2, Jake said. They drove the tank into the Devourer base. The tunnels inside were just wide enough for the tank, but Jake realized this was actually perfect. The Devourers had built their base for machines their size. They had never expected enemies who could fit in spaces they considered too small to matter. Amy drove deeper into the base while the others operated the tank's sensors and weapons. Every time they encountered Devourer machines, the results were the same. The machines were programmed to fight large, slow enemies. They couldn't adapt fast enough to deal with humans. "Communications array ahead," Ben said, reading the sensors. They reached the main communications center of the Devourer base. Jake and Lisa jumped out of the tank and ran to the alien equipment. The control panels were designed for machine hands, but human fingers were small enough to work with the delicate controls. "I've got contact with the Federation fleet," Lisa called out. "Federation Command, this is Jake Murphy," Jake said into the communicator. "Jake," Ambassador Zixathera's voice came through clearly. "Are you safe? How did you reach the communications center?" "Long story," Jake said. "But we can explain later. Right now we need you to send rescue ships for the miners. We've cleared a path through the Devourer defenses." "How did you clear a path?" General Vexacaron asked. Jake looked around at the destroyed Devourer machines scattered throughout the base. "We used human tactics." "What tactics?" Rex Mora demanded. "We went places you couldn't go, moved faster than you could move, and lifted things you couldn't lift," Jake said simply. There was a long silence from the Federation Command Center. "You mean," Ambassador Zixathera said slowly, "humans are not weak?" "No," Jake said. "Humans are not weak. We're just different." 2 hours later, Federation rescue ships were landing at the mining colony. The 40,000 trapped miners were safe. The Devourer base had been completely destroyed by 4 humans in a borrowed tank. Jake stood outside the mining colony, watching the rescue ships load the grateful survivors. Around him, his friends were talking to Federation military leaders, who wanted to understand exactly how humans had accomplished the impossible. Ambassador Zixathera approached Jake, its crystal body glowing with a soft, respectful blue light. "Jake," it said carefully, "I owe you an apology. We owe your entire species an apology." "You meant well," Jake said. "We did. But meaning well is not enough. We made assumptions based on incomplete information. We tested human capabilities using alien methods and alien equipment. We never gave you a chance to show us what you could really do." Jake looked up at the 12-foot crystal being. "So what? Happens now? Now?" Ambassador Zixathera made the sound that Jake had learned was Veltar laughter. "Now the Galactic Council wants to reclassify humans as a Class A adaptive species. They want to offer you full Federation membership with all the rights and responsibilities that come with it." "And the cute sector?" "The cute sector will be reserved for species that actually want to be there," Ambassador Zixathera said. Although I suspect some species will want to transfer to sectors where humans are stationed. Why? Because, Ambassador Zixathera said, every species in the galaxy just watched 4 humans do something that 5 Federation battle groups could not do. You have become very popular very quickly. Jake looked over at his friends. Lisa was demonstrating human climbing techniques to a group of amazed Veltar scientists. Ben was showing Katani engineers how to modify their tools for precision work. Amy was teaching alien pilots how to make their ships more maneuverable. There is one thing I am curious about, Ambassador Zixathera said. What's that? How strong are humans, really? We clearly measured wrong before. Jake thought about this question. I don't know, he said honestly. We never really tested our limits either. We always assumed we were just normal. Perhaps, Ambassador Zixathera said. Normal is relative. Jake nodded. Around him, the galaxy was learning that the small, soft beings from Earth were not weak at all. They were simply strong in ways no one had ever thought to measure. As he watched the rescue ships prepare to leave, Jake smiled. The galaxy had called humans adorable, and maybe they were right. But now they said it with respect, not condescension. And that, Jake thought, made all the difference.